Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy.
All right, folks, here we are on Thursday, January 30th. We're going to take a look at KOPN today. So somebody asked me to take a look at Kopin. Here we are. I have some previous levels down here from 157 down to 125 that I have as potential support levels. And actually, since I put this in, I actually need to update this already. I had put this in yesterday and it already busted my fib levels. So those are the fib levels that we'll have on the chart. So let's take a look at what we have here. Now, as of today, it looks to me that it did fill the gap. 157 was the gap fill level here, and today it came down to 155. So it did fill the gap. Now the question is going to be, is it going to continue to pull back further? If it does, there might be a level here. Actually, we can throw this in since I just took one off. You see the candle body and this wick here of this candle. Something right around there might make sense. Might be a little smidge higher than that. Let me see. Yeah, I like this a little bit better actually. 148. Okay, so I know these levels get kind of tight in, but I don't have a ton of them on the chart, so I think it's manageable. So if it does continue to pull back, what I would look for if I'm in Kopin or looking for an entry point is potential for sustained motion off of the 156 level. So it doesn't mean it has to come back down and touch it now that it's off of it, right? If we zoom in here, we can see it worked off of that level today. And at this point, it's situated at 168 in the after hours. So, the question is going to be there, can it maintain motion toward the 181? Does it come back down and reconfirm at or near the 156 level? We'll see what it wants to do there, but that's what I would be looking for if you're of the hopes that Kopin came down, filled this gap quickly, and then it's going to carry on its merry way back to the upside, right? It's had this crazy run as it is, talk about gaps, had this crazy gap down. On this day, it was down over 36%, bottomed out at 56 cents here. And then you can see it quadrupled, right? 217, right? Quadruple of that, if my math is right, is 216? No, 224, something like that. Yeah, 224. So just shy of the quadruple there. And it just went on a rampage, right? It filled this gap and then just kept moving. Now, the worry you would have there is, okay, now it's filling a gap to the downside. Does it keep moving? And so that's why we have these support levels on the chart to see, okay, if it does continue, sometimes stocks just get sort of drawn into the momentum, right? It gets pulled back, fills the gap, and then just the pressure, that downward pressure, that momentum that's created to the downside continues to carry it through further. And that could just be the case. We'll see. But if it needs it, 148 would be a near-in support level that I would look to. If it continues to dip, 139 and 125. So, and if it gets below that, then we can come back and take another look if folks are still interested. Generally a pretty low volume stock, couple million a day or so, 5 million-ish, but obviously has had some tens of millions days recently when it had this big run up. And similarly down here on this day, it only came in at 13 million on that day where it drew down, but it didn't really have a ton of volume pops through this, so it's kind of interesting. It almost had like a little bit of a low-ish volume climb through those levels. Now, if it does continue to build support off of this 156 where it hit today, 181.2 would be a resistance level that I'd look for. 197, 210, right? So kind of sticky on either sides of that $2 level. And if we get leggy, and definitely if we get a swing higher than that 217, 223, and 241. Let's see. Yep, also have 265 on the chart here. And again, can come fill that in more if it's needed. If we work through all of those levels, you do see this previous high here at 282, and there's a sad history before that that we don't need to dwell on. But just so you know, this is sort of the trajectory of KOPN over a longer period of time, and has been quite volatile as of late. And you see how those previous runs have been sort of shattered and just making lower lows after making those higher highs. So I just say that not to scare anyone off, not to be pessimistic, but just to say beware, like know what the long-term history of the thing that you're dealing with is here, and know what can happen with these very, very volatile stocks. EMAs. This is pretty interesting. So what we're seeing right here, this actually looks much less catastrophic. It's probably too hyperbolic. Not that this looks like a catastrophe, but this actually could look like a nice motion, right? If it's able to build off of this, what this would be seen as would be, this run up here, this explosive move, and then a very healthy pullback to the white 8 EMA. Didn't need to quite come into the 21, and even if it had, that could be fine as well. And then punch off of there and carry on, if that's the motion that it takes, right? That'll be seen, to my eye at least, as like a very healthy, very fine motion. And like I said, even if it does kind of malinger here and the 21 catches up with it and it lifts, again, still potential for expression of further bullish momentum in the very near term. Now, where it could get dicey would be if it had to come down here and test the 34, because at that point, these are spread enough because of the recent volatility that it probably will have rejected that 8 EMA. Very good chance that it would have rejected the 21, but maybe not. Coming down to the 34, and then I just always worry that we loom on this gray 183 if things, if the bottom just kind of falls out and those recent gains just get kind of like ripped away relatively quickly. It can certainly happen, but I will just say, for the motion that's getting put in at this very moment, if it's able to carry back up this way, or even something slighter like this, this could be seen as a very, very good move and a good healthy pullback for another push. Now, volume wise, let's see where the position is. It's in pretty thin space right now, which you would expect because of the gap, right? And some of it's getting filled in now, but still pretty thin. So maybe a bit to be seen there, but it is going to hit potentially a bit of a series of selling walls here as it approaches like that $2 level. So we talked when I had the levels on there, the stickiness on either side of 2. That's sort of further amplified or exemplified by the volume positioning that we can see here on the chart. But we'll, you see how high the volume potential is up here and how low it is down here, right? It sort of pales in comparison. So I do worry a bit if buyers can't step in quickly and lift this back into this, chunk of shelving here. I do worry a little bit if things sort of fall apart relatively quickly and sink back to super low volume. I don't know what would really maintain the lift, the elevated price that Kopin has at the moment, but we'll see what happens. Order flow wise, a bunch of large scale orders just continuing to come out. Came in decently on the 24th, 6 days ago, but yeah, since then have just been getting drawn right out. How are folks looking? Okay, so a lot of folks underwater at this point. 7.3% total profited shares proportion as of close yesterday on Kopin. And so today would have helped out a few folks, but not that many, right? And still, maybe grab some of these folks, but this big chunk here, it's sort of borne out in what we saw on the volume. This is emblematic of this. Right, you see that big punch through to 184, and 184 is here, right? You see all, yeah. So we'll see what those folks want to do. If it gets back up there, are they willing to kind of dollar cost average down, right? That's often the question I have. Are the folks who are underwater but maybe feel that the stock price is not so far, right? They're not so crazy underwater, and they know how volatile the stock can be because it has been lately, it has been in the past. Are folks willing to come in, dollar cost average down, buy up some of this dip and help reintegrate it into this range? Maybe. We'll see. But it's always a question, right? It's just what is retail en masse going to do? What are large scale orders going to look like? And kind of going from there. Let's pull these back in. Take a quick look at the think or swim side of things. I don't know what this is looking like. Good call out here by the TTM squeeze indicator. Triggered, fired, and that's where it took off. But it stretched through fully. Also good call out by the ATR levels for January, right? It got above the call trigger, which is situated at 201, stretched to and through the plus, situated at 151 call trigger, and stretched to and through the +1 ATR, currently sitting at 201. So yeah, so it's pulling back into the channel, like I said, still riding this green bullish wave. So like I said, we could come back here in a few weeks and go, okay, that was a really good, obviously really good run that Kopin had, and it had a nice healthy pullback, and then it took off again. It may not look, this period wasn't as volatile, but it's sort of a similar idea to what happened here, right? Slow but steady grind up, pull back to the mid-range of the channel, continue that grind up, pull back into the channel, grind up, bigger pullback, and still was able to grind up. So we'll see, but it is pulling back just into the mid-range of the channel at the moment. Even would have some room to dip a little further. I'm sure bulls won't want that to happen. Maybe dip buyers want that to happen. But yeah, would even have a little bit more room if it wanted to, probably, to express that before making another run. All right, folks, so I hope that your trading week has been going well. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.